defensive because of this magnificent vote we had to repeal some of the Patriot Act.
One day after the Patriot Act was passed, the world got to see a copy of it because no member of Congress was allowed to read it. It was transmitted from the Justice Department, much of it written, they admitted, years before, to the Congress. It was passed while the Capitol building was under anthrax attack. 5 of the 6 office buildings were shut down. About 60 to 70% of the Capitol itself was shut down. There were federal protective forces literally running around with Heckler & Koch MP5 submachine guns, wearing black ski masks and Nazi Kurzel helmets inside of the structure. It was a federal takeover. Turns out the anthrax, all the evidence shows, was sent under order of the White House to the Capitol to create the smoke screen so they could pass this legislation. Bush, of course, and his entire cabinet were on Cipro, the anthrax-fighting antibiotic.
There should be a campaign to throw this administration out for violating constitutional principles which have been the basis of this nation's civic dialogue and legal protection for over 200 years. And so that's where the energy should go. I'm doing everything I can as a member of Congress to raise the awareness of this issue. And frankly, all over this country, you've had over 100 cities pass resolutions that have condemned the Patriot Act. And it's a bipartisan effort, I might add. It's just that members of this administration, in their desire to create fear and control, have rushed headlong into this challenge to our basic liberties. I think the way that you ultimately solve it is to get rid of the administration which doesn't respect the Bill of Rights.
We're making good progress in the defense of America. We've got a Department of Homeland Security that now enables people to better coordinate and cooperate and share information. We've got a Patriot Act, which needs to be renewed, by the way, that and strengthened, in my judgment, that is really important to allow the Criminal Division and the Intelligence Division of the FBI to share information, which they could not do before. But the Patriot Act helps. It helps us to be able to connect the dots, as they common phrase here in Washington.
These provisions of the Patriot Act are important to national security. And for this country to begin to forget that national security requires a robust capacity for law enforcement would be a major tragedy.
The good news is that right in my hometown of Austin, Texas, we just threw out the Patriot Act. It's over 400 cities. It's over 400 cities. It's not 170. It's not 250. It's over 400 cities and towns. Just to clear up any confusion, we have shot this film over the last, well, actually, year plus. And so you'll hear us talk about 100 cities, 150, 300 cities. The news is usually 4 or 5 months behind, but the latest news reports are reporting 300 plus cities have thrown out the Patriot Act in their towns, and 4 states. Now, 8 months ago it was over 400 cities because I've actually counted them all up. But let's be conservative. 300 plus have thrown out the Patriot Act in 4 states. And that's very, very exciting because all we're saying is, hey, America isn't America if we don't have these basic liberties. And that's why you should throw out the Patriot Act and reaffirm the Bill of Rights in your town.
Alex Jones and several folks have tried or will be donating time to Mr. Jones. But our rules are they have to be present to do so. Sean Lausen. Is Sean Lausen here? Eliza Giles. Eliza?
Mayor, I had about 20 that we can...
Denise Keeper Lausen. Carlos Tame. Okay, Carlos. Okay. How about Mark Wallace? Well, so far that's only 6 of the 5 people that attempted, Mr. Jones, to give you 3 minutes. Only 2 are here, so you have 6 additional minutes. I'll give you 9, well, unless somebody else...
Mayor, I go outside and get people. I think folks kind of got...
Are you signed up to speak? What's your name? Trevor Holly. Okay, I need one more person. What's your name, ma'am? Rebecca, I'm sorry, what's the last name? Okay. Okay, so Mr. Jones, you're now at your maximum of 15 minutes. I just will say, Folks, occasionally you'll see myself or council members leaving the dais. I promise you when we're back in the back, there's a television and audio we can hear and see.
Oh,
so
yes, Mayor, I believe you.
Don't be offended when I leave.
I'm not offended.
Welcome, Mr. Jones. You have 15 minutes.
Well, thank you. And I hope you do stay because this is important. And I want to thank the people that came here that are part of the Second American Revolution. We shall prevail. That is a guarantee. Because as the New World Order turns up the heat, they're going to form more resistance. The tighter they squeeze, the more people are going to have that light bulb go off above their head. Now, I believe this council is made up of good people, and I think it's great that Jackie Goodman, Mayor Pro Tem, has brought this forward. Let's go through the facts. And John Ashcroft and Lord Bush and their military-industrial complex owners who are setting up military dictatorship, I mean, this is admitted, PNAC documents, cannot hide the reality of what's happening. In fact, Ashcroft, 6 months ago, really committed a federal crime. In sworn testimony before the House and Senate, he said there is no new terrorism legislation. It's not been introduced. The Domestic Security Enhancement Act, the Justice Domestic Security Enhancement Act, House and Senate versions. It's like if I got up here and said the sun didn't come up this morning. You'd laugh at me, but the press didn't call him on it. Now he's saying there is a Patriot Act 2 and Victory Act 1 and Victory Act 2, and you better pass all of them. You know what's in Patriot Act 2, Section 501? You fit the description of a terrorist under Section 802 of the first Patriot Act. You can be arrested, secretly executed. That's right, a 3 military-judge panel. Now, what is Section 802 of the first Patriot Act? It passed on October 27, 2001, at 5 in the morning, when no one was allowed to read it, according to members of Congress. The definition of terrorist is any action that endangers human life that is a violation of any federal or state law. They have many other definitions about anything that influences government. Go read it for yourself. They're counting on you not reading it. They're counting on you not finding it. Ron Paul and others have pointed out that Hitler and Stalin and people didn't have the nerve to put stuff like this down on paper. They just did it. That's what's so amazing about this. And to see the assistant U.S. attorney here peddling this is really sad, but I know it's under orders. Because 2 months ago, it was reported that Ashcroft met out in Hollywood with the heads, the big editors of all the newspapers, and the heads of law enforcement, and said, we'd like you to go out and write editorials, editors, we'd like U.S. attorneys, assistant attorneys, write editorials, get on talk shows, get out there and sell this to the people, this is good, this is a wonderful thing. So I want the council, in case you don't know this, and the people here today to understand that it's a stage-managed event. I mean, it really was hatched in a smoky room to oppress you, to manipulate you, to con you. Now, that makes me very angry, and that's why it's so exciting that this council may simply just say we have a Bill of Rights and Constitution, and we will not violate the Bill of Rights and Constitution, and in this city, America is still America. I mean, it's just that simple.
The very first thing the Patriot Act does is allows the FBI and the CIA and Department of Justice and other agencies to cooperate with each other and share information so that we can make sure we can spot, identify terrorists, and hopefully prevent terrorism.
Why have 300 House members then rejected it?
But in the middle of our conversation, activist Alex Jones called the assistant attorney a liar.
Section 802 affects all citizens. It's for all crimes. It's for one marijuana cigarette. These guys haven't read it. Have you read it? Reporters? Can you respect this guy? No, you know how this stuff works. Guys, I'm not going to sit here and hear this guy spew lies. See, this is, they don't want to talk to me. You need to answer real questions. You need to answer real questions instead of lying. And you know, earlier I talked to you, you know what's in Section 802. You know.
Can you give us your title again?
There's one thing that's for sure, if you don't get involved, you'll never make a difference. But by getting involved, I believe we still can make a difference. Now is not the time for us to give up on our political system.
Like, they have the law and the government and everything on their side. And I think there has to be a shift on our side as far as making them accountable for their actions.
So putting ourselves against the machinery and saying no. Civil disobedience.
Basically, and that's, supposedly what this country is all about, right? Civil disobedience, sometimes it's necessary, in a society question, rise, and hopefully change things.
The pyramid, you know, the power is derived from the feds. It's a rampant executive mindlessness. The federal police and military entities looking to just completely erode our civil liberties on the base. But at the bottom of the pyramid, that's where the strength is. And as long as people become aware of these situations and begin to move in very kind of distinct and rational ways, there's no reason that you can't create a SWAT watch in your town. We need to preempt their ability to preempt our right to protest, to have have our grievances redressed, and and in order to exercise our freedom. There is an inherent contradiction between democracy and militarism, and whether or not we are left, right, or center, everyone should be concerned that the increasing level of violence on the grassroots. So I would suggest that people just get educated around